Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Granblue Community League Review Show. My name is Mike Ross, and we got an excellent episode today. I will be joined by the Kingpins of Kings, Ebonic Plague, and Mr. Callisto himself. All right, hey. Yeah, we're here, right? We're here right now, live in the flesh. Ebonic Plague, Callisto, thank you for joining me so much today. Ebonic, welcome back as always. You know, no stranger to the game here. And we welcome Callisto right now. Callisto, how are you doing, man?
Doing good. I mean, talking about Granblue Fantasy Versus is what I spend a whole lot of my day doing already. So this is just, kind of back to business for me. So excited to be here with you guys and chat about my favorite game for a bit.
Excellent. I think we wanted to get a chance to speak with you last time. Unfortunately, the results were not heavily in your favor during the tournament, but, I was left a believer. Ebonic Plague was telling me, much lore about the history of your Catalina, and I think now it's a real treat that we get to, kind of dive in firsthand to get to know some of the knowledge and the background of your Catalina. So, I'll just start off right now. What drew you to that character?
Well, very straightforward focus attack. I'm a Street Fighter 4 player till I die.
Gotcha.
That was. I will say Granblue Fantasy Versus has replaced Street Fighter 4 as my favorite fighting game of all time, which I didn't think anything would ever do, honestly. And yeah, when the beta came out and the game had sort of the neutral felt like 4 to me, had a really similar pace, and you had to be very deliberate with your attacks, and with punishing is very real. And then they had a character with focus attack, and I was like, I'm in. The first time I saw her do counter hit 2H FADC into a combo, I was like, I'm in there. Let's go.
I never really. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's weird to me because I was a rushdown player in previous games, and this is the first time I've played a more rangier Shoto, kind of a more deliberate Shoto. But I always was a defensive player to the point where, when I was newer, people would make fun of me at local, why do you play Sakura and you turtle all the time, And now it's I had a little bit of a crisis when Jita came out, because it's literally Sakura, right? The same, a lot of the animations are, callbacks to Sakura moves and whatnot. So I do play a lot of Jita on the side, but Catalina is just comfortable for me. It's what I want to do. I want to block it out. I want to wait my turn. I want to punish people for mistakes.
Ebonic Plague, you've seen, your fair share of Catalina players throughout the world, not alone U.S. In your honest opinion, even though he's right here, if we have to, we can mute it so he can't hear this right now. How would you rank his Catalina amongst some of the others in the U.S. and perhaps even the world?
Yeah, no, it's actually surprising. I'm gonna be honest. No, I'm kidding. I was gonna say he sucks. But no, for real. No. Callisto has actually proven to just legitimately be one of the better Catalinas if you can get him to not be also running the tournament at the same time or something like that, right? A lot of people probably remember we were talking about how Midwest is incredibly strong at this game. And Callisto does get to play versus some of those very, very heavy hitters all the time. And you just get to see it, right? So, comparatively, I'm just going to tell Callisto straight to his face. I think I told him this at Evo, too. I consider Neokarsh to just be the Catalina for America, right? That's just how it is.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So it's that's the bar for American Catalina play. And it's very hard to run into Catalinas these days, even outside of America, because, well, she's been trying her best, she's been getting a little bit better, but so I would say probably just under Neokarsh, especially after last week, it was pretty apparent, right?
Yeah, I think what I would like to say is I'm never going to claim that I have the best Catalina, because I think that would be pretty disrespectful to someone like Neokarsh who has, post-tournament results, top 8 at multiple majors and whatnot. I will say I have the coolest Catalina for free.
The nicest.
The nicest for free. I definitely, I think there's, some overall fighting game fundies that I can be deficient in sometimes, but I do think that my knowledge of routing, knowing what needs to happen to get the KO from the current situation, and I think some of my offensive sequences you're not going to see any other Catalina do. If you had no names up on the scoreboard, it was just raw gameplay, you would know it was my Catalina over someone else's. Ooh, for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
I like that descriptor. That descriptor.
It's good, and that's also something that I do love, and I love that too about this game is the fact that you can flex your identity with pure gameplay. or not many titles allow you that freedom. So, more props to you and respect for being able to create that with your Catalina. Which also, you kind of touched over it in the beginning. What is the catalyst, if you will, that determines whether or not you are going to be running a tournament or be entering a tournament? Because I was surprised. It was a pleasant surprise to see you, in this bracket. I had to double check with Ebonic Play, and he did confirm, yes, that is which you will soon find the nicest Catalina in this tournament. So yeah, what is your deciding factor when you're going to run a tournament?
I mean. The short version is that, as at a major, I'm probably going to be streaming in some capacity, especially if it's something, like a combo breaker or, Frosty. The big Granblue tournaments to date, many of them, they need me to work. I've been streaming those tournaments for years, so they need me. And sometimes in order to make cool stuff happen for the FGC, Ebonic Plague, I know you feel this all too well. You got to take that L and you got to drop out of the bracket and you got to work.
Sure do, buddy. Sure do.
I was running netplay tournaments for a while. I'll be getting back to them. Moving into a new house and everything shut it down for a while. But a big reason why I actually was running tournaments was because of my schedule. There just weren't any other ones that I could enter, and I wanted to guarantee that there was a tournament that I could compete in that was region locked that fit my schedule. So I just started running it myself. As Ebonic Plague mentioned, we have a lot of strong players in the Midwest. I don't think people are sleeping on us anymore. There's been very few large offline Granblue Fantasy versus tournaments that have happened that did not have at least one Chicago player in the top 8. So it's our region's pretty real. I get to practice with some really strong players a lot. Something that I think probably nobody knew going in, fighting against Bepa in losers finals. Obviously a very strong player, one of the best fighting game players in Chicago, but mostly focusing on Strive had not been. I knew there was going to be a little bit of rust there, and I had beaten him in our most recent local twice in winners, semis, and in losers finals in that tournament. So I kind of knew going in, I was like, if I could get past Jukum, I'm in pretty good shape. And something else that probably you wouldn't see because we only really showed like the top 8 bracket during that tournament. I lost my first match to Rickster. Actually, that entire tournament, I ran the entire thing back out of losers, including the run back against Rickster in losers quarters. I don't get to only enter the tournament and do nothing else very often, but because of that, I think sometimes I don't get considered as like a competitor. I think people respect me. They think of me as the streamer, the TO, the community guy. But when they're looking to grind sets, they're not thinking of me. And furthermore, Catalina was in a spot, especially, prior to 2.8. She was not at a strength where people were worried about practicing the matchup.
Yeah.
And they didn't consider me, I would think, someone who they would need to worry about practicing the matchup against. And I'm trying to show them they do. A lot of me talking smack and everything, it's very self-serving. I want them to recognize that I'm still an active competitor and they need to plan for me in the bracket.
Preaching. You were preaching to the choir. Oh my goodness.
Yes, yeah, because Ebonic Play, like he kind of mentioned it about about yourself, is that sometimes you will take a little bit of an L, to sacrifice yourself for the greater good of the tournament and everything. How do you feel about that? Like when you're watching matches, as a active and strong player yourself, do you feel that you're getting cases of FOMO or anything like that? How do you feel when we're watching these tournament matches?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
I mean...
it hit deep.
Oh, no. Yeah, it does. Because, I'm sure Callisto can kind of feel this as well, much like, what he was talking about with regards to me. You kind of watch a match and you're like, I played this guy at locals last week or whatever, and I kind of demolished him, but now he's like... Now he's over here in top 8 beating up everybody. I'm just like, I could have stopped this. It could have been me.
The two worst feelings are either someone who you regularly dunk on doing really well when you can't enter, or someone plays the same character you do and they're not doing the things that you would have, and you're stuck back there and you're like, punish that! Like, what is wrong with you?
But It can also be kind of a learning experience though too, because like I've definitely watched some people that play my same character or whatever, or someone from my community, right, that is playing in a match, and I'll either learn something that I didn't realize that I probably could have done with my particular character, or if it's somebody from my community, I can kind of see their growth, right? And so there is a moment of being proud sometimes, and then there's other moments of me being like, man, I could have just ran this all the way.
And I do want to say, while I have him on the line, Ebonic Plague has actually been a big inspiration for me because of the times he has been able to continue to compete while commentating tournaments. And he's coming back to my stream like, hey, 3 medals on his neck or whatever, and I'm watching him doing great in BlazBlue, and I'm like, man, I wish I could still do this stuff, and it's starting to feel like I can. So
you can, you absolutely can.
Yeah, I'm not making that up. A lot of times when I've seen him, still try to maintain that competitive spirit without giving up the work to make the events happen for people. You got to look. It's the same as entering the bracket in general. You got to look at it and say, why not me, right? That's the difference between fighting games and a lot of other competitive games. Is you're not looking at the top player like, oh my God, that guy's so good. You're looking at the top player like, I could whoop his ass. And I think that's what you need to maintain if you really want to be a competitor still.
Absolutely, that's the best way to put it, because it's true. I think that separates everything. It's all in that mentality. And there are plenty of people out there that do look at the player on top and it's just like, oh man, that's amazing, I'll never. And then right there, you're already done. You already, cut yourself out from any possibility. But I do like that approach. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna whip his ass someday. All right, I'm gonna take
I'm probably not gonna win, but I'm still gonna say leave Zom to me, right? Like, I'm still gonna say
it. just go, move. Yeah, stand aside.
That's right.
Zombie is mine.
I definitely did that in an exhibition, and he beat the crap out of me. It was funny.
That's right. Sometimes you got to get humbled first, and then you know what you had to work for.
Somebody's got to stop him, and nobody's gonna stop him if you don't step up to the plate, right? So
yeah, I definitely after CEO, I remember being like, all I'm going to say is nobody tried to hit Ren with Wake Up Sweep.
Nice. The legacy lives on.
That's a factual statement. Callisto is not lying. Nobody did try. That's right. And so for that, we don't know if anybody could have stopped him.
It's only going to be up to you, man. Hey, I want to... take a little shift here. I'm going to read off some names. Basically, we've had several qualifiers now with several different placers. I want to read these names off, and I want to get your guys' opinions on who, in your honest opinion, is sounding like the strongest and might have the greatest chance at taking this entire if everybody was meshed into one, who would be the strongest player? Assuming so. These are all different regions, so it's not likely they will play each other, but, let's get some hypotheticals going here. So you got CO, Zombie, Fitison, Miri, ZJZ, Wavy, Skyfarer. Are you familiar with all of them and which characters they play?
Most of them. I actually watched several of the streams. The first name you mentioned, them I do not know.
It was Xiao, right?
Yeah, from Singapore.
Yes. Yeah.
Percival.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
not surprising, very strong character. Fitison was also Percival, if I remember correctly.
Fitison is a Percival player, and one of the strongest EU players for sure. Actually, somebody I am definitely looking out for in regards to this question, Mike. So is Fitison.
Fitison. How would you feel? I guess let me be a little biased here and then kind of reword that question. How do you feel that Zombie Moo would fit versus everybody else right now? Ooh. Ooh, flex on.
That's my man. That's my man.
I think so. This is something that I do want to say, and it's something that I was looking really hard at during the Evo play, and it didn't come up a ton only because, especially the Japanese players, were actually very restrained with their usage of the new mechanics. They weren't going too wild, but I do think that going forward in Granblue Fantasy Versus, being aware of how much meter your opponent has and being ready to react to overdrive, to OS overdrive, to punish overdrive, and to a lesser extent rushdown, I do think that's going to be one of the big kind of like delineators between the top players and the not top players, is how consistently are they dealing with the new mechanics, because they're strong. and how consistently are they keeping their situational awareness to not just run up and meaty with a slower button when they have 100 meter. And Zamumu is one of those people who's looking for it. He's definitely someone who's scouting it out. And I don't see that from a lot of the other regions, even if they are incredibly strong in every other aspect of their play.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. That's a big point for sure. One counterpoint though is I do feel like in regards to EU in particular, because a lot of people look at Japan for like this game. So I'll talk about a different region for a moment. EU appears to be one of the strongest reactionary when someone is trying to use something defensively. When someone is trying to do something defensively, EU is really good at being able to adapt to that exact situation on the fly and have an option. So, that can come into play when someone's defensively ODing, of course. Not to say that it's specifically something they practice, but on multiple avenues, I feel like that's like a really, really strong point of Granblue Fantasy versus in general. And that's just to, kind of counterpoint what you're saying. It's because I think your point is excellent personally.
And what do you guys feel like? Are there any matchups on paper that give Jita a lot of problems? The most problems, I should say.
So I do play a pretty good amount of Jita. I do find the Percival matchup to be fairly difficult, largely because compared to someone like Catalina, Catalina can be outside of the range of Percival normals and whiff punish him and get a full conversion for it. Jita has to do something like, let's say Percival whiffs Far 5H, right? Like a very whiff punishable move. She can't, her sweep doesn't reach high enough. She only really gets like a light Rekka, right? Like a raw Rekka, maybe a run up, far medium. We would see that out of Gamera early on, in earlier patches. He would just take his far medium and not really chase any extra damage. And it's at a range where you can't convert into rush down or EX Rekka or any of the things that Jita is really known for making you pay for mistakes.
Yeah, no, I'd have to be in agreement with that. Also, because Percival just continuously ends up being one of the strongest characters at that mid-range, where Jita is normally, like, incredibly strong, right? That's normally Jita's wheelhouse, and Percival is only just as strong as Jita in that wheelhouse, but gets more damage as long as there's Traumarized stacks or an EX available, right? So, I guess I'll say on average, rather than always, is more damage.
I do want to throw one more character out there for that as well. I do think, even though it's not likely to be seen, I think Uno dumpsters Shotos hardcore. All of them. That character is hard designed as an anti-Shoto character. Kind of in the classic, how Guile is sort of like the anti-rushdown, right? The just hold your ground and keep killing them as they're trying to work their way in. I have fought Uno as all three Shotos a pretty good amount, and it is incredibly difficult, and it sort of only got harder because several of his moves just don't care about rushdown. They're disjointed enough to not really care about overdrive activations. Characters that rely on things like a 2M or a sweep as their main pokes, he doesn't really care about those. It's a very difficult matchup. Jita maybe can do okay out of the three, core Shotos. She probably does the best just because of the fastest movement. She can, everyone has to make, big guessy Zunga themselves at Uno to get in. She can just sort of do it the best.
That's just the nature of the beast, the nature of the matchups.
Yeah, right. Because he does have he does have some of the farther reaching normals that he's got a great whiff punish game, right? Like Mike, one of the first times that we did this, for the North American side, we did see Shubu playing Uno, and we specifically talked about his far 5H, really strong whiff punish button. But there's also the big spear stab, right? That also goes full screen. That was one of the things that you can meaty with to get around overdrive, with it being nice. But a huge portion of it is the parries as well. The parries make it so that, like, just trying to brute force your way in is never going to happen, on top of all the great spacing normals.
Yeah,
and then the ability to, the Rekkas, too, to be able to convert from further ranges. Like,
I do want to point out, too, all of his specials are grounded moves, which means that non-EX, they all anti-air. That's actually one of the biggest struggles, is Uno can actually anti-air you with every special move that he has and most of his normals. So very, very difficult to approach from the air as well. You just have to be very patient. But now with the addition of overdrive and everything, if he activates on you and you're not activated and Chip is on normals and Chip is on specials, it adds up very fast because that character is very rarely outright punishable. And he can just start chucking, and then you put the spear on the skill button with, normal timers. Ooh, it's scary stuff.
So, who would you guys say then in the U.S. right now would be our strongest Uno player?
Shubu has been playing him a lot. Senpai Spider, known for Matera, also plays Uno a lot. I would say not in the U.S. I want to say I believe it's the Wind. Yeah, I believe it's from Mexico. Is that correct?
I think it's Mexico. Yeah. I always unfortunately forget, but it's not Chile, so I believe it is Mexico. But
yeah, the strongest North American Uno would probably go to them.
I would say Wind. Yeah, that was the first person who came to mind when you asked the question. Shubu, I would also agree with Callisto that Shubu and Senpai Spider has been messing with it. Senpai Spiders is relatively new. I'm not gonna lie, by comparison to his Matera, right? So it's there's the knowledge gap there still a little bit. It's Senpai Spider's an incredible player, so the knowledge gap barely gets noticed, but it can be there in comparative to somebody like the Wind, in my opinion.
Having mentioned how bad that matchup is for Shotos, you guys don't know what it's like to finally get a break from fighting his Matera when he switches mid-set, and then he switches to the worst possible matchup, and it's just like, oh, this is what I earned.
Right.
I 2H'd one hop, and he's like, fine, you want to play for real?
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
It sounds like you might need to pick up a young Beelzebub or a Bly, somebody,
Yeah, that's definitely one of my post-CEO Otaku goals. I want to learn more of the cast because you're seeing all these people do really well with all these characters, and you're just seeing them do cool stuff with the characters. There's a lot more, I think, to explore with the new mechanics and everything. A lot of cool rushdown conversions.
Agreed.
A lot of cool meaty overdrive setups, man. When Percival just combos into overdrive and he's plus 20, and it's like, whoa.
Why did Percival need this? Why did he need this?
It's one of the reasons why we see so many Percivals having success here, looking at this. And since you mentioned it, you mentioned CEO Taku. That is a tournament that you'll be heading to, or that you are attending. Are you going to stream the event? What is your role there?
Yeah, absolutely not. Despite Jabali asking me a few times if I'd be down, I refuse to work CEO Otaku. It is the only tournament since 2017 I still go to purely as a competitor.
Nice.
Well, I'd say 80% as a competitor, 20% for degenerate 3 a.m. Blake Blue hours. Because that's one of the few places that really happens.
Callisto's my man's. Yeah. Granblue extraordinaire.
But yeah, I'm really excited. There's a lot of strong players, and I'm hoping that last week was one of the few online tournaments that I really got to enter without having any sort of responsibilities, and I performed pretty well, and I'm hoping I can carry that momentum into Taku. And my goal is never really on placements. To an extent, I think that being known as a top player who did well in tournaments helps you get more matches, and that's my goal. I want people to want to play me. I want them to want to challenge me so I can play more people. But more than anything, when I'm playing at bigger tournaments, I think Catalina maybe will have a reputation of being kind of a dry character. And I just want to show people that that's not the case. I think a lot of my style is built around that, and I want to show that, she can schmoove when she needs to. She has some gimmicks. She has some really, really goofy setups against some characters where you just DP them because they try to take their turn and you hit them for 6k off of it. There's some stuff that not a lot of people do with her that you can do.
I never understood the whole this character is dry, because Catalina was the first character I played when this game came out. Right, and I never
to be fair,
felt
when
like
she
that.
came out, that was the. She spent, maybe.
She was at the gym. I understand. She was at the gym.
She did spend 18 months in jail. Since 2.8, she's kind of been out on parole with Rushdown kind of granting her a little bit of a new lease on life.
Oh my god!
In season 1, she did the crimes. Right?
She was out of control.
For sure. I don't know. It's because of that I never felt like she was too dry, right? Because I played the crazy version of that character.
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh man. Just so you know too, we Ebonic Plague, I'm very familiar too with your fortune telling abilities, and since we have Callisto here going, traveling all across the planet to get to this Taco this year, who are we gonna see in the grand finals? I know there's a lot of I know I'm asking a lot for you. I'm asking you to give this information, at free of charge right now. But if you can kind of give your
call me now. If you're gonna ask me, at the end of the day, I'm almost always going to say my man Zombie is going to be up there, right? Okay. If Zombie tries to play Belial, there may be a difference. Okay. I'm just gonna be completely honest, right? If because the last couple of tournaments, Zombie has tried playing Belial and it has not gone super well. Okay. But you got to learn a character at some point, right? So
right.
Now there's two versions of Callisto that I could say goes a certain area.
Ooh.
There's Callisto, there's regular Callisto, right? Regular Callisto goes 0-2.
Okay.
Violent Callisto just wins the tournament. Violent Callisto just wins the whole tournament.
You know what usually happens is I go for I go to like overhead a throw. That small window where you can get grabbed out of universal overhead, and I'm like, oh hell no! And that's when Shin. It's that type of interaction. It's the interaction where you chose the correct thing in rock paper scissors, but your timing was just slightly off, or the other character had a pretty egregious move that just didn't really care what you did. Those are the moments where I'm like, oh hell no, and that's when you start seeing a little bit of the bully coming out.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, I didn't know if you are aware of when it happens, or if you're even willing to share when we kind of see that switch, from Violent Callisto.
So the very first instance of this was actually one of the earlier net play tournaments that I ran, and one of the entrants was Lancelot, and it was like a 5-frame connection, and fighting Lancelot as Catalina is like, it's not a bad matchup, but it's not a fun matchup. It's an annoying matchup because he has a lot of different ways out of the corner, and he can kind of approach at angles that are hard to cover, and he was just doing stuff. When you like shimmy back from the Lancelot and it's like 5L just starts coming out, like you just see like 72 5Ls when you walk backwards, and I just started. I did run up overhead like 6 straight times. I was so heated. I literally just did run up overhead. And St. Cola's like absolutely losing it. Like, Shin Callisto's coming out.
Damn. So it's gonna be awesome. Now we have something to we have to look at it only in the gameplay. That's the only way we'll know. Straight face both times, but the gameplay, the character will speak on the violence.
If you want an actual list, I'm going to name some names that I know are going to Taku off the top of my head that I'm not 100% sure are every single person. But so obviously I mentioned Zombie. Mm-hmm. We have Neokarsh. There's Merp. There is Buskar Luz, Searchlight. Let's see here. Gosh, I'm gonna feel so bad if I forget everybody.
It's okay. No, don't feel bad. It's a lot of names.
Yeah,
MBK, Shuabu.
MBK, thank you. So MBK and Shuabu. MBK is somebody that not a lot of people get to see right now, and MBK is easily one of those stronger players that just doesn't get to be seen. I think MBK is freely going to make it through a large amount of the bracket. That's like with confidence I can say that kind of thing. And the reason why I highlight this specifically is because not a lot of people get to see MBK who don't already pay attention to Granblue Fantasy Versus, right? Like, if you pay attention, you probably already know, but if you don't, then you kind of need to understand, like, this guy is not fresh, right? Like, this is somebody who's been beating people up. So
someone who I do want to bring up along those same lines of players we don't get to see a lot, October, who previously had primarily played on PS4. The Granblue online community is largely centered around the PC, but the PS4 definitely has an active player base, and there's some really good players on it. And October, I still have yet to play personally, honestly. I know that they do have the PC version now, and they occasionally play on it, but they had been on PS4, and in their offline tournaments that they had gone to, they typically performed very well. Matera, of course, in this version is a very strong character. We saw I mean, you guys saw what happened to me. I don't have to.
And you have Matera experience,
right?
too. That's the funny part.
Yeah, I fought nothing but Matera the past 2 months. And actually, I mean, Skyfarer had mentioned it. I actually felt really good going to that grand finals because we actually had played a pretty long set and it was perfectly even. And I was like, well, it's fine. I could do that. I absolutely got smoked. It was pretty hard.
Yeah, you both definitely brought your A games for that tournament because that was a really strong set just to show off the strength of the game.
And then the South American tournament later in the day, Matera won that as well.
Yep.
There's a lot of Matera going around.
Matera is also pretty popular over there, from what I remember. Her and I think Jita as well is another character that gets shown up a lot over there. I could be wrong, but that's what I do remember. So.
Jita, yeah, I think. Oh, sorry, Mike.
No, I was gonna say a really bad joke. I don't want to say it anymore. So let's just go ahead.
But that's for sure.
I do think Buskar lose.
Yeah.
Ebonic had mentioned Buskar lose. I do think if I were to pick someone else, my second player to be in finals other than Zombie, it would probably be either Buskar lose or Shuabu. Shuabu has had really explosive growth in this game in the past year. And every time you see them in a tournament, they're continually placing higher. Outright winning tournaments that had Zom in them sometimes these days. And same thing with Buskar Luz. I mean, kind of an enigma of a player. You really never know really what's going on in their head, but they're very disciplined. Their spacing's very good. They have a really good understanding of their character. Lowain, I think, actually is significantly stronger in this version, not just because of what he gained from the new mechanics, but he's very good at keeping you from using them yourself. All his little, buddies that come out, they all count as projectiles, so you can't rush down through them. If he supers either super before you did overdrive, you don't get to overdrive. Both of his supers are very good for that, so you need to be a little more aggressive with your, usage of them. The counterpoint is like, rushdown's really good for him, but if he uses it, he may not have access to Yiggy when he needs it, so, some drawbacks there, but, I would expect out of those three players, two of them would be who I'd pick to be in grand finals.
Yeah, I definitely feel that assessment, honestly. Buskar Luz Zombie or Zombie Shuabu has been many a grand finals at many a tournament. It's kind of like written on the paper that that those three are very likely, just due to straight up placings just throughout the entire time, right? Like everybody is got a target on Zombie's back. That's obvious, and so that's why he's one of the first people to pick whenever somebody's like, all right, I don't know much about Granblue. Who are we looking at? And it's with barely a thought, it's Zombie is usually talked about.
Excellent. Well, we're going to have to find out and see what's going on. Callisto, obviously, I'm going to wish you the best of luck there. I hope that, whichever Callisto you decide to bring out, you do with good reasoning and just decisions.
I can tell you one thing. Mm-hmm. No matter how I perform in the bracket, I'm going to cook everyone after the bracket anyways, so it's fine. It's fine. The cooking will happen. Yeah, it may get delayed. It may come, a few hours late. It'll be there. I promise you. That's
right. Yeah. So if you guys are watching this, you're going to get cooked one way or another. It's either going to be in bracket or out of bracket, but it's happening. You can't escape it. Best of luck, Callisto. Is there any final shout-outs that you want to plug right now? Where can more people find information on you and your streams and such?
Yeah, you can follow me at BG Callisto on Twitter and Twitch. Of course, I do want to shout out the boy while we're here.
Big Willie!
Yes! With me. This is really what everyone lost. Me losing wasn't the real loss. It was the fact that if I would have gotten the winner's interview, this is what everyone would have gotten. So.
Oh man, that's Big Willie.
Yeah,
that's right? Big Willie.
It's the boy. He's literally He's sleeping next to me on the desk.
Yeah, I saw the chat going crazy. They wanted to see Big Willie come out, and during the match, I was a little hesitant. I didn't know if you're gonna
Yeah, no, don't worry. It's a good thing.
Okay.
It's very difficult to search Twitter to find out who's excited about my cat after a tournament, but
Oh my god.
keep safe, search on. It's fine.
It's fine. I have a sticker of your Big Willie, so it's no big deal.
Yeah.
There's no issues there. I don't have
Actually,
any
I do want to
troubles.
say that I will have some Big Willie stickers on me at CEO Otaku. So if you want one, hit me up.
Oh, that's so awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. And Ebonic Play, you got any final shout outs as well?
Hey, I only want to shout out the Granblue Fantasy versus Community League, which you all can sign up for. You all can, show up like violent Callisto, if you will, right? This is the league that is meant to show off Granblue Fantasy Versus. We've seen a lot of cool stuff. It is hosted by Versus Ages, one of the reasons why we have this recap show here. And anybody can sign up through a multitude of different regions to be able to play for free skins or monetary prizes as well to be able to get to the finals of the league. And you can do so at bit.ly/GBVS League.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much, and thank you, of course, everybody for watching. We can't wait to see what happens next. Again, you heard the link. Please go there immediately if you want more information on the league itself, and we will see you all later. Thank you so much for watching.